Hello, I'm Kendra Leighton. I wrote Glimpse, and I'm going to show you some of my favourite UKYA books. One of my favourite UKYA series is The Name of the Blade by Zoe Marriott. I'm not generally a big fantasy fan, but these books are really fast-paced and fun, they're easy to read, they've got lots of mythological, epic themes, and some really cool monsters. Yeah! 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 Robin Stevens' Wells and Wong murder mysteries are technically middle grade, but I'm including them anyway because I love them so much. They're about two schoolgirl detectives in the 1930s, and they're really charming, intelligent, fun books. There's going to be 3 more, which is something I'm really happy about. I'm a big fan of Trouble by Non Pratt. It's a really engaging book, so much so that when I couldn't read it in one sitting, it put me in a bad mood every time I had to put it down. I definitely recommend it, so if you haven't read it yet, then do. Unrest by Michelle Harrison probably isn't a book I'd have picked up on my own because the cover makes it look really scary, but I got it for Christmas as a gift from my sister, and it's turned into one of my favourite UKYA books. It's about a boy who can see ghosts, but it isn't predictable at all. It's got lots of different plot threads and twists, and it's really, really clever. So those were some of my favourite books. Thank you for watching, bye!
Hi, I'm Andy Robb, author of the Geekhood books. My YA recommendations for YA Day are the Mortal Engines series by Philip Reeves, steampunk action adventure, the Bartimaeus books by Jonathan Stroud, creepy fantastical fun. If you're looking for laughs, look up Weirdos vs Quimboids by Natasha Desborough. I don't tend to laugh when I'm reading books, but I did on those. And if you like your comedy dark, look up Henry Tumour by Anthony McGowan. Finally, Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, because it's the book that changed my life. And I suppose, finally, anything by Terry Pratchett. Happy YA Day to you all.
Hi guys, and happy UKYA Day. My name is Laure and I'm a writer. I wrote Fearsome Dreamer and I wrote The Illusionists, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my favourite YA by British authors. So we're going to start with this one. This is a book called Shift by an author called Kim Curran. What I like about it is it's basically like watching a sci-fi action film, and I'm going to read you the blurb quickly. When your average loser, Scott Tyler, meets the beautiful and mysterious Aubrey Jones, he learns he's not so average after all. He's a shifter. He has the power to undo any decision he's ever made. Which sounds like a neat little premise, and it is, and it kind of sets up beautifully the incomprehensible myriad of problems that arise once you have the power to change reality. It's a really ambitious world, and I think she pulls it off beautifully. There are 3 books in the series: Shift, then there's the sequel Control, and then there's the final book in the series, Delete. Did you see where that was going? Yes, good. If you're looking for that clever, fast-paced action kind of read, I really recommend this trilogy. The second book I'm going to recommend is a book called Cruel Summer by James Dawson. If Shift is the action sci-fi of the YA world, then Cruel Summer is the Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, point horror. They're just really great fun riffs on horror tropes. This one I think though is my favourite for reasons that I cannot tell you without spoiling the whole damn thing, but suffice it to say that by the end of the book something happens really unexpected and kind of really affecting. It's a beautiful twist and I loved it. These are incredibly fast, fun reads. The characters are all so very... Only people who've watched Heathers will get that reference. Really good fun. My final 2 recommendations are more in the fantasy genre. Not necessarily YA. I'm going to say that they are YA. The first one is Midwinter Blood by Marcus Sedgwick. For me, he's one of those authors that really crosses boundaries in that truly anybody could read him. It's one of those books that's very hard to describe. Marcus, I believe, loves interconnected narratives. I think this is particularly true of his latest book, Ghosts of Heaven. He's a very beautiful writer and very transportive fantasy. You really sort of live and breathe them as you read them, and I think that that's the best kind of fantasy. The final one I'm going to recommend has not been sold as YA actually. She's theoretically an adult author, but I think big with YA readers. The first book was called The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and I don't have that, but I do have the sequel, The Mime Order, which came out only a couple of months ago and I haven't read it yet. but I can't freaking wait. The bone season was extraordinary. There's all sorts of magical types going on, playing on the theme of mediums, people who can access the ether, which is sort of like the spirit world in a sense. And it's just very incredibly well realised and kind of fantasy world that you absolutely get sucked into as you're reading it. There's going to be 7 books in this series, and I honestly can't wait to find out where they go. I think she's going to be huge. She kind of is already. She was a New York Times bestseller. And that is it. Those are my Fast and Furious recommendations, and I hope you pick some of them up. Mwah.
Hello, I'm Anna McKerrow, author of Crow Moon. Happy UKYA Day, everybody! I'm going to talk about some of my favourite YA reads, and number 1 at the moment for me is Steph Mohammed's Bitter 16, which has just come out with Salt Publishing. They don't usually publish an awful lot of children's or YA, so you might not be aware of them, but this is an awesome book. It's kind of a Brit superhero take. It's full of amazing references to sci-fi and geekery. It's amazingly written, and Steph is a very, very clever guy, brilliant page turner, and it's got a talking dog. So I think you should definitely read this. It's awesome. I recently have also loved Blue by Lisa Glass. Blue is a surfer romance YA novel, and in fact the second in the series is coming out shortly, and that's called Air. It's a really, really snappy together book. It's a really good plot. It's fun. It's got a gorgeous hot surfer boy in it called Zeke, which is a big plus always. Again, really great writing, and set in Cornwall again, which is a big plus for me. I have just started reading The Accident Season, which is Moira Foyley Doyle. It's The Accident Season, and I'm only probably about a chapter in, and it's brilliant. I started reading the prologue a while ago at work, and I got totally sucked in. It was really amazing lyrical writing, quite spooky, and then I had to put the book down for a while because I was really busy and I couldn't get back to reading it, and I've been trying to get back to read it for ages. I'm loving it so far. It's I'm not sure what's going on yet, but there are some really strong characters. There's a spooky undertone, and there is the sense that there is a family for which has a certain time every year, which is the accident season, where everything goes wrong for them and people get hurt and maybe die. And there's kind of a mystery around what that is at the moment. Anyway, I'm really enjoying that, and I would recommend it to you. And I'm also going to recommend Louise O'Neill's Only Ever Yours, which I'm sure lots of people might not have been so aware of, but they are now, since she won the YA Book Prize recently. Yay! Very exciting. This is an amazing book, and particularly topical at the moment with, I don't know what we're calling it, but the new popular feminism, which is out there and sweeping the nation with things like the Everyday Sexism Project. Only Ever Yours is a story about a dystopia future where young girls are bred to be pleasing to men or young boys and married off to them just to be their sex slaves, really. So it's like a cross between Mean Girls and The Handmaid's Tale, if you can imagine, and I love it. It's dark but brilliant. The last thing that I'm going to mention, I don't have a copy because it's not out yet, but it's Lou Hersey's Deep Water, which is a really amazing book, and I can't wait for it to come out. It's coming out in July with Usborne, and it's a kind of modern retelling of the Selkie myth. And the Selkies are a bit like mermaids, but instead of the fish, they're part seal, and the myth is about, I'm not too good on the Selkie myth actually, but it's where the girl sheds her seal skin, I think. Anyway, about transformation, and it's going to be it's a really magical story. Lou is an amazing writer. She won the Dyslexia Novel Award for her Deepwater manuscript before it got a publishing deal. Mallory Blackman thinks it's awesome, and what better recommendation can you really have? So those are my UKYA recs. Hope you have an awesome day. Thanks, bye.
Hi, I'm Lou Hersey and I write YA fiction, and this clip is going to be about this book here, which is called Crow Moon by Anna McKerrow. It's one of my favourite books that's come out this year. It's really well written, beautifully researched. It's set in the future in Greenworld. Greenworld's the pagan society run by witches and matriarchy, and Redworld's the rest of England and Wales and everywhere, where they all fight out things for fuel and resources. The protagonist, Danny, is 16 and likes to have fun with girls and party, and that's what he's mostly interested in. But then he finds he's got powers, and it's whether he's going to use them for good or not. The tagline for the book is "Magic just got real," and Anna knows a lot about magic, so all the stuff in the background, all the practice stuff, magical practice and the gods and the tarot cards and that kind of thing, is well researched, and she knows her stuff. The tarot cards really come more alive than you would expect in real life, but that's great, you know, that makes for a great story. It's the first part of a trilogy, which is even better news because I enjoyed it so much I can't wait for parts 2 and 3. I would recommend that you read it too. Rush out, buy a copy, you won't regret it. Thanks.
Happy I can't say it quickly.
Basically, Lucy is having problems saying UKYA Day, so I'll say it. Happy UKYA Day.
Yeah.
My name's
But
Tom.
I feel it.
Yeah, she feels it. I'm just saying the words, but she's the emotional part of the partnership.
Yeah.
That's Lucy. My name's Tom. We wrote the book Lobsters, and we wanted to celebrate UKYA Day by reading some favourite bits from our favourite UKYA books. What have you got first?
I have got Dodie Smith, I Capture the Castle. Ever read it?
No, I haven't.
It's a classic. I'll read the opening bit.
Maybe I'll check it out once I've heard you read the opening bit.
We'll see from this.
Please.
I write this sitting in the kitchen sink. That is, my feet are in it. The rest of me is on the draining board, which I've padded with our dog's blanket and the tea cosy. It's a great book.
Nice.
Are you convinced?
Yeah, I'm very convinced.
Going to read it?
I'm going to read it, but first I'm going to read.
He's not going to read it.
From my.
He's going to keep reading weird German philosophy.
From one of my favourite UKYA books. This is Boys Don't Knit by T.S. Easton. It's a very funny book, and I just thought the first couple of paragraphs sort of got me immediately, and they were quite hilarious. So this is them.
Okay, I haven't read it, so I'm going to feel it.
Mum and Dad are at it again. They're doing that thing where they make food-based double entendres all the time, thinking it goes over our heads. It goes over Molly's head. She's only 6 and she never listens to Mum or Dad anyway. I guess it used to go over my head too when I was little. But I'm older now and more sophisticated. And I know what they're up to, and it makes me want to vomit. On Friday night we had chicken Kiev and baked potatoes. As she was serving, Mum said, "Dave, could you get the spuds out?" And Dad said, "I'm always happy to get my spuds out for you." This is what passes for humour in our house. Though that wasn't quite as sick-making as today when we had a barbecue down in the park. Mum was carrying too much from the car and nearly dropped a pack of burger buns. "Let me take hold of your baps, Susan," Dad said. "Don't squeeze them too hard," Mum replied, giggling. "How can I make them stop?" So that's how you start a book, isn't it?
That is how you start a book. Shit,
So
we
read
should
that
start
if you
our
haven't
book
read
like that.
Yeah, we should.
Okay, I'm going to read, I love Louise Renison, I'm going to read a bit of this, but do you want to do the French bit?
No.
Yeah. Then this really dishy bloke came along. Julia and Ellen wouldn't go up to him, but I did. I don't know why, but I developed a limp as well as being French. He had really nice eyes. He must have been about 19. Anyway, I hobbled up to him and said,
"Excusez-moi, je suis française. Je ne parle pas l'anglais. Parlez-vous français?"
ooh la la.
Oh, is that it? Good. That was a good bit.
Do you want to read it?
Yes. I'm now going to read. This is a kind of classic of UKYA, maybe even sort of proto-UKYA. This is, if you can't see it, The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, one of the greatest books ever written. And instead of the first line, I'm going to read the very last bit, which I've always thought is one of the funniest bits in the book. So it goes, Saturday, April 3rd, 4 p.m. I've just had the most humiliating experience of my life. Start again. I've just had the most humiliating experience of my life. It started when I began to assemble my model aeroplane. I'd nearly finished it when I thought I would try an experimental sniff of glue. I put my nose to the undercarriage and sniffed for 5 seconds. Nothing spiritual happened, but my nose stuck to the plane. My father took me to casualty to have it removed. How I endured the laughing and sniggering, I don't know. The casualty doctor wrote glue sniffer on my outpatient's card. I rang Pandora. She's coming round after her viola lesson. Love is the only thing that keeps me sane. That's a masterpiece of teen awkwardness, if you've not read it. And what else have you got?
Well, we've been going 3 minutes 50 seconds, which is 2 minutes longer than we were supposed to, so happy UKYA Day.
Hello, my name's Natasha Desborough. I'm the author of these 2 books, Weirdos vs Quimboids and Weirdos vs Bumskulls. and I'm here to talk to you about my favourite UK young adult book of all time. Now, it's actually this book, The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, aged 13 3/4, by the brilliant Sue Townsend. Without this book, I never ever would have written my own book. You see, I never really wanted to be a writer. It's something I just kind of fell into, and one day someone said to me, look, why don't you try writing your own fictional book? So I thought, all right, I'll give it a go. But I had no character, I had no plot, I had nothing. I had no intention in the first place of ever writing a book. So where do I start? Well, I did. I started with this book. It's the book that I've read. I've read it more times than any other book. And I'll just read you the very first page, the first chapter. Thursday, January the 1st. These are my New Year's resolutions. Number 1, I will help the blind across the road. Number 2, I will hang my trousers up. Number 3, I will put the sleeves back on my records. Number 4, I will not start smoking. Number 5, I will stop squeezing my spots. Number 6, I will be kind to the dog. Number 7, I will help the poor and ignorant. And number 8, after hearing the disgusting noises from downstairs last night, I have vowed never to drink alcohol. Now, I think this is just the most genius start to a book. You see, from those 8 points, you can tell so much about the character of Adrian Mole. We can tell he's endearing, we can tell he's got a good heart with really good intentions, but he is clearly a self-righteous idiot and has loads and loads of comic potential. And that's where I took my inspiration from. And that's how I actually started and began my book. I began writing my own New Year's resolution list, and by the end of 10 points that I'd just randomly pulled out of the air, I had a character. I knew she was a girl. I knew she was going to be have a life full of embarrassments. I knew that the book was going to chart her embarrassments. So that was my entire starting point. So really, Sue Townsend, thank you so much for helping me to write my book. And if you haven't read this book, read it. And the follow-up, The Growing Pains of Adrian Mole. They are both just so funny. I love them. I love them. In a sexy way as well. Adrian Mole.